What are you doing, step bit? How's it going, guys? My name is Chase Farrow, and today we're putting the final touches on the Z06. We put new seats in it, then it was, well, tore the body apart, put a whole new induction system on it, put a whole new fuel system on it, and it's now finally pretty much, well, for this phase done. But it has been lacking one thing, and that is my harnesses that are supposed to go on the seats. So I ordered a harness bar for the Z06 from Race Ready Motorsports. It took a little bit of time for them to get it to me because apparently they've just been crazy busy getting slammed with orders, but it's finally here, which means I can finally put the harnesses on my new Corvo seats. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna get that thrown in. Now, normally it's a pretty straightforward installation. There's nothing really overly complicated about installing a harness bar. However, there's a few things that I'm having to get a little creative with. And one of them is the fact that the floor studs on the Z06, or C5 Corvette in general, are kind of short. So it's hard to accommodate anything but a seat base with them. So one of the things that I did was I got with AMT Motorsports and I had them send me these guys. Now what this is it's a stud extension, and it's also a little bit beefier than the factory stud. So what it does is it just threads down, you tighten it down over the stud, and you now have longer studs. This is the mounting point, or the little mounting bracket for part of the harness bar, because it obviously goes from one side of the back of the car to the other, but then it also has these struts that go down to the back of the seat base. So this extended stud will allow me to not only get the Corvo harnesses on there, but it'll also allow me to get the struts for the harness bar on there. What I'm gonna have to do though is the seat bases that the Corvos are currently on actually don't accommodate a stud this large. So I am going to have to widen out that hole a little bit. There's plenty of material on it, so I'm not really overly concerned about it losing any structural integrity. I'm sure Corvo would probably say that they don't advise people do that, but I'm confident in it, and well, if it messes it up, then I guess I'll know not to do that again. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the seats popped out, and I'm gonna get started throwing this harness bar on. All right, so we got the seat out, and now you can kind of see the studs a little bit better. So what we're gonna do is with these guys, it's very easy. I mean, all you do is it just threads down on there. Obviously, I'm gonna take this washer off, but it's thread down in here like this. I'm gonna obviously need to get an open end so I can really tighten that down. But I mean, as simple as that. It's a really great little product from AMT. If you look at the back of the seat base, I am gonna need to widen this out, but not by very much. I'm not excited about taking any material off of there, but unfortunately I don't really have much of an option. It should be fine though. I really don't have to take very much material off. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drill that out. What are you doing, step bit? Honestly, with how tough this is to get through, I'm actually more confident that it'll be fine with taking some material off.
That drill's got some torque, dude.
Yeah. Yeah!
Hey. Nice.
All right, so now I guess do the same one over here and
get another rag.
Yeah. All right, so it's the next day. We ran into a little bit of a problem, had a couple of kind of messed up threads on one of the floor studs on the driver's side. And unfortunately, trying to fix that is extremely difficult. Ultimately, I did end up getting it taken care of. And as you can see, I have elected to put the harness mount point under the stud extension. I just feel it's safest there. And then I'm gonna actually start getting this harness bar put in. All right, so obviously we gotta get these guys out so we can mount the harness bar. I'm using a T45, T50 was too big. 45 does have a little bit of wiggle, but it looks like if you get it right, perfectly centered, that did it. Now, I am going to be putting my seat belts back, so my car will still have the seat belts in it. I don't feel like deleting the whole seatbelt system. All right, and you're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm not gonna film that. All right, so we are ready to get this put in. I just gotta make sure I have it correctly. I think this is just going like this. Oh yeah. Oh, that's cool. Bolt, spacer, harness bar, spacer, and pretty sure that's right. Now I'm just gonna replicate this on this side. So I'm gonna take this guy, bolt, buckle, spacer. I think I may have just gotten spacers backwards. Thick spacer first. This was not threading quite as politely. This spacer. I think that was it. Okay. So it's a little bit tricky, but I think you just have to finagle it a bit. All right, let's get this side. Now, before I tighten these all the way down, there's a couple of struts that attach to this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those thrown on. Catch though with those is, first I have to put the seats back in. So I'm gonna put the harness in on this side, get it bolted to the base, and then I'll get the seats in, and then I'll get these struts attached. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys how to properly wrap a harness safely to meet regulations using a Schroth LV4. So we'll get to that at the very end. All right, so I got the passenger seat in and mounted. Now I will say I did have to get a little bit creative. Now I don't know if you can see that strut back there, it's a little bit dark, but it's supposed to go down to the inside mounting point for the seat. Unfortunately, the stud extensions from AMT made the strut, even at its shortest length, too tall. So what I ended up having to do was, instead of running it down to that one, I actually ran it to the one across. So that's really kind of where we're at there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the other seat put in, I'm gonna get it all set up just the same way, and then I'm gonna take the car outside so there's a little bit more light, and I'll actually be able to show you really how everything is mounted, because unfortunately in here there's just not a whole lot of light. So I'll get that taken care of. I'm gonna set the camera up, do a little time lapse, and then I will show you the end result. So let's get started. So now that everything's mounted, I can show you guys kind of how exactly I mounted all this and what order I did it in. Now, some of this could be a little bit incorrect. I just mounted it in the way that made the most sense to me for safety. So if you guys have any information or any suggestions, please comment below and I'll happily read them, because obviously my first priority is safety here. So like I said before, I had to run the mount, or the brace rather, for the harness bar down to the outside on both the driver and the passenger side. So let's go ahead and start here. So at the very bottom, as you can see down there, is the harness. The seat base is sitting on top of it, and then the mount here for the harness bar brace. And then I just put a washer and the nut on there. It's obviously not tightened down because I wanted to wait to do that because I figured it would be a little bit easier for you guys to see before it was all tightened down. Now over there, at the bottom, same thing. Harness is at the bottom, seat's sitting on top of it. And since there is no brace on the inside, I just have a washer, a locking washer, and then a nut just, you know, sitting on top of there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these tightened down, and then I will get the harness bar wrapped and everything, and yeah, we'll get to see how it turns out. Got everything bolted down, everything's ready to go, so now it's time to wrap the harnesses on the harness bar. Now, because of the type of harness that this is from Corvo, it has eyelets on it. Those eyelets aren't going to be necessary, so I'm about to do something that's gonna really physically hurt me. And that is, I'm going to be cutting them so I can do a traditional wrap using the Schroth LV4, I don't know what they would be called, but harness bracket things. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this real quick. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save as much as I possibly can. So I'm gonna cut right where, as you can kind of see, it folds over. Because even though, you know, there's plenty here, I'm not gonna have any issues. You still just want as much as you can possibly get. All right, so now we have an end, and I'm actually going to, real quick, I'm gonna use a lighter and I'm gonna actually kind of burn this end so it doesn't fray, so give me just a second. All right, now that I've got this burned, I'm gonna go ahead and feed it through. And then I am going to actually finish taking the rest of this cellophane off, so. All right, so once you've got your Schroth LV4 on your harness, which by the way, this is made specifically for 2-inch webbing, you're gonna come up under the roll bar. You're gonna go down into the LV4, making a circle. I'm gonna pull some more slack. Then you're gonna go around the roll bar again. You're gonna come up and pull through. And once you pull tight, it won't go anywhere. You will have a little bit of slack, that's good. You can do kind of whatever you want with it. I will have more slack here in a minute, but my seat's scooted all the way forward. So, and you're just gonna kind of repeat that a few times, and that's it. I mean, that's really all there is to wrapping, at least using specifically one of the Schroth LV4s. All right, got them all wrapped in. Real quick, I wanna show you a trick that I used. If you're OCD like me about things like, you know, the logos like Corvo or whatever brand you get being level with one another, what I did when I was doing the wrap, before I did, I went ahead and I taped to where the top of the Corvo logo was pretty much even with this line. And then I just stuck a piece of painter's tape over it, and that held it in place while I did the wrap. So that was a neat little trick that worked for me, but now that's it. So now let's see how they turned out.